Welcome back, everyone. This is going to be my new Black Panther 2 Wakanda Forever first look video. We just got a new first look at Namor, some of the Atlanteans, as well as Riri Williams' Ironheart character, and Shuri and Okoye. Obviously, the big stuff, though, is Namor just confirming some stuff about his character during the movie. The writer of Doctor Strange 2 was also talking about his character because he is a member of Marvel's Illuminati, so I'll explain that too. And there is a big tie to the Eternals movie as well, and what's happening in Thor Love and Thunder, which is coming out in a couple days. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. We're also doing a ticket giveaway for Thor Love and Thunder. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and just post all your Namor theories on the video. I'll name a new giveaway winner during this video too. But the first two promos that Marvel dropped are for Namor himself, who's being played by Tenoch Huerta from Narcos Mexico. You may remember him from something, but in these promos, he's wearing different versions of his armor, like his normal armor, but then his God-enhanced Avatar level armor, like Black Panther wears his Black Panther suit. Even though technically Black Panther isn't meant to be the full-on avatar of Boss, the same way that Khonshu has an avatar in Mark Spector, who becomes Moon Knight. Black Panther has a more equitable relationship with Boss, like she doesn't manage him day to day, but they just confirmed that Namor is going to have a similar relationship with one of the gods of the Aztec people, also clarifying that a lot of the Atlanteans will either come from ancient Aztecs or ancient Mayans. But if you look at his version of what you would call like the Black Panther style armor, like his armor suit, it's inspired by ancient Aztec designs, but his headpiece here does feature a depiction of the Aztec god named Tepetillo. He also has the comic book wings on his ankles too. Those give Namor the ability to fly through the air, so Namor might be flying during this movie. But the concept of the Jaguar god comes right out of real-world Aztec mythology. He's the god of darkened caves, earthquakes, echoes, and jaguars, obviously. God of earthquakes, where does that sound familiar?
Reading on those tremors?
It was a mild subduction under the African plate.
Do we have a visual? How are we handling it?
Net. It's an earthquake under the ocean. We handle it by not handling it.
Now everybody's trying to see how they're connecting all these dots. Like maybe that underwater earthquake had something to do with Atlantis, Namor, and the Jaguar god in the MCU during Endgame. But if it wasn't clear, Atlantis and the Atlanteans are going to descend from a group of Aztecs and Mayans maybe that broke off from their culture and just lived in secret this whole time. And it's going to be a similar backstory that Wakanda had, living in secret with precious resources, evolving over time, becoming much more advanced than a lot of the above-land cultures. The group of gods that the Atlanteans in the MCU would worship are called the Teteo. That's the name of their ruling council of gods. Like on Moon Knight, the pantheon that Khonshu comes from has many, many different gods that are part of it. Like Boss, for instance, the goddess that Black Panther in the Wakandan people worship is the sister of Khonshu. She comes from that Egyptian pantheon. But they have their own ruling council that we saw during the Moon Knight series that are called the Ennead. The Aztecs have their own version of that too. The Aztecs' pantheon was supposedly formed by a god called Quetzalcoatl, much more ancient, much more powerful Aztec god. Big connection to the Eternals movie too. Ajax's character, who Salma Hayek played, was worshipped by ancient Aztecs as Quetzalcoatl. They believed that she was their god. Obviously in the MCU, the lore is a little bit different, the backstory. They're meant to be celestial robots, basically just pretending to be gods because of their advanced technology and their abilities. But now they're saying that Quetzalcoatl was an actual MCU god and these other pantheon of gods, including the Jaguar god that Namor forms the contract with. But here's the connection to Thor Love and Thunder, because the Teteo Aztec of gods, their pantheon, mostly appeared during the Thor comics. They also appeared during the Thanos Infinity Gauntlet storyline during the Godhead scene. So now it makes sense why Marvel would release Thor Love and Thunder with all these different gods, along with Moon Knight with this other god, this other pantheon, to explain what's going on with gods in general in the MCU and sort of set some of these big concepts up before they use it as a huge twist during Black Panther 2. So for instance, when the gods are having their Godhead meeting with Zeus here, with Thor infiltrating an omnipotent city, you have hundreds and hundreds of different pantheons of gods in attendance here. It's meant to be gods from every different culture, like all the most powerful gods. The Ennead is in the background, Khonshu's pantheon, because Bast is sitting right here. The Aztec pantheon that Namor worships and the MCU gets his powers from is also here in attendance. But it sounds like he'll have a similar relationship with the Atlanteans that Bast had with the ancient Black Panther character. So the first Black Panther was named Bashenga. He formed a contract with the goddess Bast, who led him to the heart-shaped herb, which gave him all of his abilities and gave him the power to unite all the different warring tribes and form the Wakandan nation. It also gave him some of his supernatural abilities too that were passed down. Like Black Panther is known as the King of the Dead. That's because he can access the memories of all the previous Black Panthers. It's kind of like Avatar: The Last Airbender with Aang accessing the memories of all the previous avatars. Same thing, but in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Also, the heart-shaped herb is what they use as a transfer medium to help them access the different dimension that is the ancestral plane, which we got a big shout out during Moon Knight. They kind of clarified the afterlife in the MCU, just different dimensions based on your belief system. So for instance, when Black Panther's people die that worship Bast, they go to the ancestral plane, different dimension from the Duat, where the people who worship the traditional Egyptian gods go. I'll explain more about that during Black Panther 2, because even though Bast is a member of Khonshu's pantheon, you'd think that her worshippers would also go to that same Egyptian afterlife dimension. But remember, it's different for every culture, so like you can worship the same god, but I think part of the idea is that she's not a member of the Ennead, so her belief system is just a little bit different. They kind of clarify that in the comics, but it gets a little more complicated, and I don't think they're going to get into that during the movie, so you don't need to worry about it too much. But presumably, when Namor's ancestors broke off from the Aztec culture and from the Mayan culture and formed Atlantis, it was a similar situation with them forming a contract with their gods, helping them survive and form this special community hidden from the rest of the world. If you look at one of the other promos too, you can see Atum, he's full Atlantean, that's why his skin is blue, but he also has a lot of aquatic features too. The reason why Namor's skin looks like a normal person's is because one of his parents is from the land, the other is Atlantean. It's kind of like an Aquaman type backstory where one parent is normal and the other parent is Atlantean. Even though technically Namor came first, like they call him the first mutant, because he was the first mutant character whose comic book debuted in the real world. I think what they'll say is they'll just say that his father came from the ancient Aztecs and his mother came from the Atlanteans. But like Atum, for instance, is 100% Atlantean, so that's why he looks like all the other Atlanteans. It's the same way in the comics. All the Atlanteans in the Marvel comics have blue skin like this. Looking at his armor, it looks like a lot of it was made from shark bones. It's all pretty hardcore, but really cool looking. It's kind of the same thing with the production design during the Aquaman movie too. But I think the whole idea in making him part Aztec and kind of leaning on that area of the world is so that Marvel can make this feel as different from the Aquaman movie as possible. But that comparison is going to be there no matter what. Like, people are going to make that connection no matter what. But reportedly, the whole reason why Namor hates Wakanda, hates Black Panther, has a big beef with him, is because of something that Riri Williams does while she's a student at MIT, and they sort of get caught in the crossfire, like Black Panther and the Wakandans get blamed for a lot of what happens to Atlantis during the movie. But it's a very Captain America Civil War type of situation, where you have two groups of characters that are fighting, but it's because of something that a third group does to manipulate them. But in this case, I think that it's going to be some other group. There might be some hidden villain in the movie that's pushing what's happening with Riri Williams, and there's just a big accident that happens, and they blame Black Panther and Wakanda for it. Supposedly it has something to do with Riri Williams creating her new arc reactor technology, her new Iron Man armor suit, that's going to be like her Mark I type of suit, like she'll have her own version of a cave type scene. They kind of did that in the comics before she created like the full-on Ironheart suit. This is what her arc reactor design is going to look like, so it's not like she's just going to take Iron Man's old arc reactor and just repurpose it. But it sounds like she's creating some new technology and there's some accident or some other group tries to manipulate her and what's going on with that, and that leads to the discovery of Atlantis, and something really bad happens there. Like I said, they're meant to have a similar backstory to Wakanda, like hidden nation with precious resources, advanced technology that the rest of the world wants to get their hands on, and I think that's why Namor and the Atlanteans are so worried. But if they're going to explain what happened to T'Challa Black Panther during the movie, I think it's the easiest thing to say that Namor winds up being the person to kill him, or something that he does leads to the death of Black Panther, even if he himself doesn't directly kill him. The more recent comics have tried to portray him like an anti-hero, but during the big Secret Wars time runs out lead up, like we're happening right now with the incursions, Namor was a pretty straight up villain. In fact, right before the Secret Wars event started, before Battle World started, Namor winds up getting killed by Black Panther. But I don't think that they're going to do the Cabal or anything like that, but they did have a lot of plot with him and the Illuminati in the Cabal, which obviously is a big connection to Doctor Strange too. The writer of Doctor Strange 2 said that the reason why they didn't have Namor on their team, because that was a thought initially, was just because they were using the character during Black Panther 2, and Kevin Feige wanted him to debut during that movie, not during Doctor Strange 2, and there were just so many people from them to pick from in Doctor Strange 2. Because they're going to feature Riri Williams' first version of an Ironheart armor, like her version of a Mark I during the movie, we might not see like the full-on Ironheart armor till the Ironheart series next year. I don't know if she's going to be involved with the Armor Wars Iron Man series, because that's going to be more of a War Machine series. Maybe we'll see White Vision come back for that too. But because there's so much Iron Man stuff tied to the Ironheart mythology and Armor Wars War Machine, it sounds like there's going to be a lot of Iron Man stuff happening in the next year or two. My full Thor Love and Thunder review video will post on Tuesday after the embargo is up and they let us. All my post-credit scene videos, my Easter eggs for the entire movie, that'll start posting at the end of next week after it comes out in theaters. Congratulations, Robert Martin, you're the giveaway winner from my last big Marvel video. Please email me on the About page of my channel so I can get your contact details. Everyone click here for my new Ant-Man 3 and New Avengers video for all that footage that just dropped, and click here for my new Thor Love and Thunder trailer video and Easter eggs. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.